Hi everyone, welcome to this final and most exciting part of our Global Acceleration Programme journey. A little reminder, my name's Ruben, and as always, I'm your host for today's session, my role being to introduce our expert speakers today. I'm also delighted to say I'm going to be having a chat with some of your peers who have already expanded into international markets, and they're going to share their tips and their insights to help us do exactly the same thing. And I'm also, if you remember, on hand to encourage as much participation as possible. So please do ask any questions of any of our speakers as we go today, and I will be running a little Q&A session with all three of them at the end. So just type your question into the question bar below the video screen here today. So let's remind ourselves first of the journey that we've all been on, and I've been here with you since the very start, and a delight it's been as well. Let me say, if you remember, we started back in June by understanding and reinforcing the opportunity that there was in international expansion. Then across the rest of our journey, we've understood how to decide where to export to. We've thought about our strategy for expert in terms of understanding what nuances and refinements we need to make to our product and proposition to be able to succeed in the markets we've chosen. We needed to set our business up for success. That was our operational strategy to make sure we could deliver on that. And then finally, we looked at our international marketing efforts, designing campaigns that were going to connect us with the audiences in those markets to ensure we succeeded. Now, there was a little hiatus over the summer, which actually gave us the opportunity to further refine our plans, to talk to our Google point of contact, to get everything signed off, and even to start a trial in those markets so that we had some initial data to work from in terms of fine-tuning those campaigns ready for this moment. This, as we all know, this most important part of the year in terms of it being the holiday season and retail peak. And again, that's really what today is about. Today, of course, is about us celebrating the fact that we've got to the end of this process, that today we are graduating, but that is a little bit later on today. What this is about is ensuring that we are set up for success for the holiday season, for the retail peak, in terms of, as you can see, talking to an expert from Euromonitor, in terms of understanding what refinements and tweaks we need to make to our proposition to set ourselves up for success in this most important of times. And then we're also going to tap in to the insight and wisdom of two people who have been there, seen it and done it already, to see what we can learn from them, again, to make sure that we are in the best possible position to make the most of the opportunity there is in at this period in the calendar, this holiday season, this retail peak. And then, as I said, we are going to celebrate our graduation and wish each other all of the luck in the world in the coming weeks, months, and indeed years. However, that brings me on to the opportunity to welcome our first speaker of today. I'm delighted to welcome Alexis from Euromonitor, who is in a great position to be able to share his insight, his data, his knowledge and his expertise in terms of what we need to do in making sure that our product and our proposition is perfectly aligned with the needs of our audiences this holiday season. So Alexis, I'll hand over to you, if I may. Welcome, very nice to have you with us today.
Thank you, Ruben, and good morning to everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today. Shall we start? Yes. Okay. Well, good morning to everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. In this presentation, I aim to provide you with some knowledge and inspiration to adjust your value proposition for the global sales peak. And we have one sales holiday coming up fairly soon, which is Black Friday now in November. All this in the context of online cross-border. So for this, I will first give you a bit of background on the research that supported the content that you're about to see. And we are going to discuss why we believe it's relevant. We're going to follow with a Black Friday overview, some big numbers, and the focus of the presentation will be on giving you actionable insights on three main questions. They are, why do shoppers go international? What are the issues that shoppers face? And how to win more shoppers on Black Friday. So I hope you enjoy it. So first, the research, and that's my favorite part. Well, in partnership with Google, we from Euromonitor, have conducted a research to understand the consumer online shopping behavior. What are the preferences, frequency, key product categories, barriers, and drivers that push people to buy online abroad? This study involved mixed methods, including secondary research or desk research, data modeling, but a key component was an extensive consumer survey that was conducted across 6 markets in Europe. Those are Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, Netherlands, UK, with a total of 6,000 people interviewed. Those people, they were divided in 2 big groups. One were the cross-border shoppers, those who regularly shop internationally, and the domestic shoppers, those that regularly shop domestically but not internationally, all this online. And why, in the first place, we thought it was important to understand the online shopping behavior. Well, not only e-commerce is the fastest developing shopping channel, but also our consumer survey pointed out that it has accelerated even further due to the pandemic, with cross-border and domestic consumers reporting to have increased online shopping by 35% and 60% respectively. However, with this big increase, the pandemic also brought some new challenges, such as delayed deliveries, extra health safety measures, so it creates more complexity also in this, and also brought more competitors to this space. So for you it's fundamental for you to know how to play in this space so you can take the most of its potential. Okay, that's interesting. But why more specifically we believe that cross-border is a key strategy for international expansion? Well, the online channel offers relatively lower costs and also risks compared to other options for retailers to access new markets. This mainly because you don't need to set up a physical presence, and that helps to explain the strong growth that you can see in this graph for cross-border sales. If you notice, between 2015 and 2019, cross-border sales have doubled for most markets. Similarly to online shopping, cross-border was also accelerated during the pandemic, growing around at 20% in 2020 for the combined total of these 6 markets, and reached in the same year 30 billion euros. So, okay, online channel is the most dynamic, cross-border is a good channel to access new markets, but when should you do it? And we believe that sales peak seasons could be a good moment for that. Just as a reference, e-commerce global sales are in average up by 6 times, almost 7 times during Black Friday compared to an ordinary day. In this context, consumers are actively looking for better deals, with the average discount globally being at 55%. And in this search for better deals, these consumers are open to try new shops. And this ties greatly with cross-border strengths. Overall, cheaper prices are already the main driver to why consumers shop internationally. It was interesting to notice during our research that consumers buy similar product categories domestically and internationally. Those are apparel, footwear, free time activity items, home appliances, and also electronics. Thus, the main factors of differentiation for international retailers are, once again, price, but as well wider brand and SKUs availability. Okay, those are good insights to the whys. Why retailers should go cross-border and why consumers go cross-border in the first place. The next steps are to understand how and where. Our study pointed out that consumers are more likely to complete their peak sales deals on their smartphones, a channel that has increased by 25% in 2020. However, many consumers prefer to do it to do their research in a desktop, with half of the consumers discovering online shops via search engine. This mix of device usage in the purchase process is why retailers must aim to deliver a seamless, customer-centric journey across multiple devices. One example is to sync your shopping carts across desktop, mobile, so people can do their research in which device they prefer, and then they can finalize their purchase also on the device of their preference. Another important factor to consider is localization. Our research revealed that consumers expect familiar payment options and also price present in native currency. To a lower degree, they would also expect customer service offered in native language and default native language while browsing. These last two, most likely, they have a lower relative importance due to the high usage of auto-translation, which points out to the importance of your website being designed in a way that consumers can easily use translation tools. So remember, consumers might overlook these features in return for a better deal during Black Friday. However, if you want them to return to your website, if you want to retain those new customers, you need to focus on end-to-end user experience. So let's go back to prices. It is important to recognize that price is not the only thing that weighs in the consumer decision when shopping during Black Friday. We have other important factors, and our survey indicated that the most important ones are, once again, price, but also delivery options, website localization, and customer support. It was interesting to notice in our study that shoppers are willing to trade off between price and delivery options. In this case, we asked them about two specific shops, one that would deliver in 2 to 3 days and another 4 to 7 days. And while less than half consumers would prefer to wait longer for a discount of 10%, close to all consumers would do it for a 30% cheaper price. And deals that offer this price versus shipment trade-offs have good potential to be successful in cross-border strategies. And this trade-off doesn't need to be necessarily price versus days of delivery. In this case study of the Latvian company Zuper, they managed to increase their clients' Black Friday sales by almost 3 times from 2019 to 2020. And this strategy implemented was to change their 20% discount of everything in 2019 to 30% in 2020. But as a trade-off, they went from offering free shipping on all orders to only those over 70 euros. With this, the average order value doubled as clients tend to purchase multiple or higher ticket price items to make the 70 euros threshold. This is a win-win situation in which the consumer gets a better discount, but also the retailer gets a better margin as the shipment costs are more diluted in higher ticket purchases. So yeah, playing with price and delivery options is a useful strategy to increase your consumers' expenditure. But what about gaining new consumers? Well, when asked, the domestic shoppers voiced strong concerns around trust and convenience from buying cross-border. More specifically, fears around product return, warranty, and shipping time. Thus, cross-border business must build consumer trust through transparent FAQs and clearly communicating on product warranty, return, and shipping options. That's very important. On the other hand, most of the cross-border shoppers reported issues with shipping time. This is a bad combination for retaining new customers. Retailers, they need to make sure that the biggest fears from consumers that are not used to buy cross-border don't become true. Businesses that want to attract and retain cross-border shoppers, they should primarily focus on strong delivery networks. And that's the case of Bonami, which is a Romanian online furniture and decoration store that operates in 9 Eastern European countries. In 2020, this retailer was able to increase their Black Friday sales by 80% and locally and 100% internationally compared to the previous year. And they combine a discount strategy with a quality and diverse delivery service. Throughout the year, the retailer has been introducing smaller item pickup point delivery stations and developing their own delivery network across multiple markets. So yeah, we spoke about price, we spoke about delivery, we spoke about localization, and what about client support? Here it is key to take into consideration your customer preferences. Many new options have surged in this space, such as live chats, bots, social media, but our study indicates that email remains a preferred option by customers when it comes to contacting an online retailer. Therefore, it is important to keep a good management of this channel. Some advantages seen by the customers are this is a familiar channel, allows the usage of translation tools, removes also the time pressure, and because emails are kept as a record, they are perceived as more secure. So remember, don't over-focus on trendy new ways to communicate with your client without covering the basics, and that in online shopping is the good and old email. So still on the topic of communication, another key aspect is to know your customer and how to appeal to them. One way to do this is to create demographic segmentations and to understand their average behavior. For instance, our consumer survey indicates that in terms of age, younger shoppers are more active in international purchases, while older shoppers, they're more likely to stick with the stores that they know. In terms of gender, males, they're more likely to report issues, and females, they trust less online stores compared to males. In terms of income, higher income shoppers, they care more about the product country of origin, while lower income, they tend to also trust less e-shops. So knowing your customer is important. Creating those segmentations is also important for your marketing strategy. And once you know that, it's important to build a strategy that can effectively create trust, appeal, and support your customers. And we believe this can be achieved by a transparent and proactive communication, providing additional information in the form of pop-ups, customer support, or targeted newsletters can help increase this customer trust. If these comms can be tailored to your consumers based on their demographics, based on the fears and preferences of those demographics, that's even better. Mechanisms such as ads, cookies, and login accounts can be helpful in this sense. And here, one good case study of how impactful a proper online communication strategy can be is from the British fashion retailer River Island, who implemented 3 simple steps to increase their Black Friday sales by 82% from 2019 to 2020. And those were consumer tracking. River Island, they hired a company that helped them to understand their trafficking data and allowed to amend their marketing strategy and paid search strategies. Also experience contests in social media and target banners, once again thinking about those demographics. So yeah, there are many ways in which you can tailor the bundle of tools that we have been discussing that will help you to win more shoppers on Black Friday. However, we wanted to summarize some of the main do's and don'ts. In terms of do's, make sure that you understand that you make a good plan for your offer product variety. Focus on brands and SKUs that consumers cannot get domestically, and emphasize having options. Build trust by offering easy return process, transparency, and multiple shipping options. And also give consumers options between trading off price and delivery. So you can see that all here is about options. You need to show your consumer that you're putting them in power and you're giving them options that they can choose from. And in terms of don't overpromise on delivery time. So again, it's not about making the shortest delivery possible. It's about giving the different options to your client and being transparent about what you can deliver and what you cannot deliver, and let them choose. That's the most important. So you set expectations and you should meet those expectations. That's the most important. Don't exclude email from customer support tools. They still prefer it. Your consumers still prefer it. And don't underestimate the value of the end-to-end user experience, especially if you want to retain, and you do want to retain, those new customers. And last but not the least, make sure to consider all the operational marketing tweaks available to improve your performance in Black Friday. In terms of messaging, make sure you create discount shop-wide or discount on product brands, category, order volume, special delivery offers, and communicate that through all your channels, your own website, Google search, email, newsletters, YouTube, blogs, social media. Make sure you are active in the communication through all channels. And remember, you have a peak of usage, you have a peak of sales. So make sure your website is up to the task in terms of technical capabilities. Make sure that you are on top of the trends. What are the trends in terms of products? Use Google Trends for that. What are the most searched products currently? What were the most searched products in the last Black Friday? Make sure that the product description is following a good SEO practice. Make the use of special banner, event countdown clock. Use your customer reviews that helps to build trust with your new customers. And make sure as well that your website is designed in a way that consumers can easily use translation tools. So hopefully this brought some actionable insights and inspiration for your cross-border endeavors. Thank you so much for your attention. And now back to you, Ruben.
No, thank you so much. That was fascinating. I love there's a real theme of trust, I think, that came out of there, which I think is interesting, particularly as, certainly to me, from a consumer point of view, Black Friday and the sales period is all about kind of sell and discounts and making sure you get the best value possible. There's that other piece there that actually, if we build trust in this period, that's a long-term value proposition for those customers. And I have to say, I thoroughly approve of reminding people not to go for the new shiny things and stick to good old things like email. That appeals hugely to me. I have to say, if I can't get hold of you on email, then I'm a lot less interested, I have to say. So thank you for that, Alexis. Superb stuff. So from one expert to another, and now I am delighted to welcome on board a couple more experts. Now, we are all in the planning stage of putting our international growth campaigns together, potentially having done a little test in ready for the sales peak. Now, I'm delighted to introduce two people who have been there, seen it, and dare I say, bought the T-shirt as well. I'm delighted to introduce Hannah and Gustav, who have both been involved in their companies' expansion into markets incredibly successfully, both during the peak season and outside of that peak. And I thought it's a great opportunity for us to tap into their experience, expertise, and Hannah and Gustav, dare I say it, your wisdom to see what we can steal from you to make ourselves as successful as you guys have been. So thank you, first of all, very much, both of you, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
No worries. And let me start by giving you an opportunity to introduce yourself very briefly, a little bit about yourself, and importantly about your business. Hannah, if I may, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Hannah Lewis, the head of PPC and affiliates at Lounge Underwear, specialized in PPC marketing specifically for the past 5 years, where in my previous job and at Lounge, a huge focus has been international growth. So Lounge Underwear is a UK-based brand specializing in underwear and loungewear. And really, in the past 5 years, international growth has been huge for us. We broke out into 11 localized markets,
Wow.
2 of them last week, actually, and achieved the title of the UK's fastest growing fashion brand in the Times 100 Fast Track in 2020 as well.
Congratulations, Hannah, and thanks for taking the time. As you, I'm sure, have many other things to do as you've just launched in 2 other countries. So thanks for joining us today. Gustav, what about yourself?
Yeah, so thank you, and thank you for having me today. Super fascinating insights from Alexis earlier. My name is Gustav, and I am CMO and partner in Antlight, one of Europe's leading platforms within furniture and designer lighting. We are a Danish-based company and currently live in 14 markets. We broke into 6 new markets last year, which was super exciting. And I have been interested in marketing and e-commerce ever since I was 16 years old, and been involved with a ton of e-commerce ever since then. And when I'm not doing e-commerce, I love riding on my mountain bike out in the woods and competing with my friends.
What a beautiful thought. Well, we won't keep you too long to allow you to go off and chase your 2 dreams of commerce and biking, Gustav. So look, let's dive straight into it. You guys have been, as I said, both of your companies have been very successful. Both you have been very successful in terms of growing into international markets. So here's the thing: what would be your best advice for someone trying to convince their management that this sales peak was the time to be expanding internationally? Hannah, would you mind starting us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's all about identifying the markets and their potential growth. It's so important to really understand, especially if you ship internationally already, but wanting to localize the markets that are already performing really well and how you can localize them. We do that at Lounge using Google Analytics geographical data, because you can really see the conversion rate, revenue, traffic, and those low risk ways of being able to break out into a new market in terms of that localization. We also would use like a keyword and search volume report in Google Ads. These give great insight into the search volume in these specific markets and allow us to really understand how competitive they are and really what our opportunity is in terms of search volume. So then combining these 2 tools, they give us the foundation to forecast that traffic potential and understand what we're going to gain from breaking out into these markets. And these together allow us to predict revenue, ROI, CPCs, etc., which is then presented to our management, and we can go forward with the opportunity there.
Perfect. So that really robust data, creating trust, I think, that we're making the right decision and there is an opportunity there. No, that makes an awful lot of sense. Gustav, what about yourself? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think it's a super interesting question. And in order to get buy-in from the management team, I would focus on 2 points, where the first one would be that going into new markets, I would present that as a low-risk opportunity to get the growth for the business, attract new customers that will come again and again, years to come, which would be a super interesting thing. Where I would present as the second thing, I would tell the management team that when the new markets become more mature and they get to a bigger part of the business, there's a super positive effect when one of your mature markets for some reason doesn't perform as wished. You will have other mature markets that can cover in for that. So by not being too dependent on one market, you can actually decrease the overall risk of the business, which I think is a super nice point of going into new markets.
Yes, interesting. Again, it's that de-risking, that diversification leading to de-risking. Again, speaking
Exactly.
to, back to Hannah's point about having that data there to almost de-risk that as a decision. No, makes an awful lot of sense. Thank you both. So look, let's obviously, because we've done a superb job, we've got that signed off. Your thoughts in terms of the percentage of budget we should be investing in export at this time of year versus our domestic spend. Again, Hannah, can I start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the percentage of investment really depends on the opportunity in that new market. So analyzing things like the competition and the search volume give a great gauge on the size of the market, thus how much we can invest. When we break out into a new market, it's important to strike the perfect balance between investing enough to make sure that we're pushing brand awareness and shaking up that auction and being a key player in this new territory that we're breaking out into, but also ensuring that the accounts are running healthy and running profitable across all markets as well. So we typically like to really snowball the spend across the accounts. So start off with a smaller percentage of our main territory, but this percentage depends on the opportunity and competitiveness, and then increasing this over time to really gain visibility as we localize more and more and we tap into like new auctions and new platforms.
Gotcha. So it kind of builds over time as you test and see what works, etc. Makes a lot of sense. Gustav, is that similar to your approach?
Yeah, it's quite similar, and I really believe that in order to be a successful marketer, you should begin measuring your profits and your margin, and not only measuring your revenue, because at some point every business needs cash to survive, and by doing that, profits is definitely the way to measure. And when you have the opportunity to measure profits, my go-to market strategy would definitely be the same as Hannah's in regards to the budget. By starting with a budget, measuring how the performance is, and if it's getting profits, then I would reinvest all the profits into the campaigns and then hypergrow the new market based on that.
Nice. Yes, so it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and again, that piece about reporting back to the business with a distinct lack of risk, because you're just reinvesting what's being made. That I like that a lot. So look, Alexis talked about localization in his piece just before us, and I'd be interested in your take on that. How do you get the balance right between scale, and again, both of you have scaled your businesses enormously across territories, versus that kind of that local touch, shall we say? And actually, Gustav, I'll start with you, if I may, on that one.
Yeah, sure. So I totally agree with Alexis on this point that the localization is super important. At Antlife, we take it really, really seriously, because we know that it can either make us win or lose a customer by doing it right or not doing it right. So last year we launched into 6 new markets, and that made us create a super scalable model that first of all made us able to launch into new markets fast, but also launch into new markets where we really had the ambition to localize the markets and the campaigns to gain and win trust in the customers. And I really think it's a 3-step process where the first step is deciding which market to enter in. Here we really use tools like Google Market Finder, where we can find a ton of information about every single market. And then when we have decided which markets to enter, we begin to localize the markets, and both the markets and the campaigns, and put a lot of resources into doing that right. Once that's done, then we put the markets live and we activate the campaigns. And then the third step of the process begins, that are more adapting to the consumer behavior in the market, which I find the most difficult part of the process. Gathering insights, and as Alexis also mentioned, finding the preferred payment methods, shipping methods, shipping policies, and stuff like that, which can be quite different, even for neighboring countries or for two markets that speaks the same language. So I think that's a part that's like never ending.
But but again, it's the appreciation that is where there is additional time and effort required in that pace. It's interesting as well that talk about, it's not just about the investment, obviously, in the marketing campaigns, but actually investment in localization to make sure. Again, it's interesting that this word trust keeps coming up, because it's not just a one-off piece. This is an opportunity to bring people in long term. Thank you for that. Hannah, what are your thoughts on this localization piece?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Alexis and Gustav discussed, having that local approach is really essential for breaking out into new markets. From the first interaction with the brand through to purchase and beyond, we want customers to feel like the journey is seamless, easy, and works for them. So we take insights when launching a new market from other campaigns in other markets and use them as a foundation to really build this new market. Gotcha. But we really try and localize the ads and the targeting in terms of language, copy, keywords, etc. But we also ensure that we take, like both Gustav and Alexis discussed, those points like the shipping side of things and payment options, and really trying to include this in the whole customer journey. So mentioning this in our ads to make sure that the customers in the new market feel like they can trust us because we're using what is relevant for them, but then also carrying that through to the site. In terms of the localization in the copy side, the Google Campaign Translator was used in our most recent 2 new launches, and using that has really helped us localize the ad copy efficiently and accurately. Which has been brilliant. But then taking that further, we then trying to add a test and learn approach and make sure that we're constantly adapting and being reactive to the consumer behavior and differences in market, because like Gustav said, it really does change. Even neighboring countries or countries that have you would expect have very similar consumer behaviors it does change. So making sure we're being reactive too.
That sounds like a message coming across. Don't assume, don't expect just because they're close neighbours that they're going to act anything similar to each other. Good. That's wise words, both. Wise words, both. So look, let's talk promotions, because that is what drives most of the sales page. Again, I noted down, I think Alexis talked about an average discount globally of 55%. So how do you guys think about promotions? How do you approach promotions from an international growth perspective? Again, Gustav, could I start with you this time?
Yeah, and also super interesting question. And what I think we should do is to go out and ask the audience and find out what makes them convert, and based on which kind of promotions they really like to see. So once that insight is gathered, I would sneak out and look at my competitors and see, based on the promotions the audience really makes them tick, or see how my competitors are handling that. And based on that, I will turn to myself and see what kind of promotions can I follow my competitors, and especially what kind of promotions can I actually beat them and be the strongest in the market of.
Nice. So a lot of good competitor analysis and sneaking around, as you said. Good stuff. I like it. Hannah, what about you? Do you go sneaking around?
Yeah, we take a very similar approach, actually. So you want your promotions to really stand out from the crowd, and we always try and make sure that we are competitive against our competitors, if that makes sense. Yes, and also just making sure that the promotions are what the customers are expecting and what's going to get them to convert. So very similar way of working, really. At Lounge, our promotions are planned carefully by our operations team, including both of these things, and really trying to strike a perfect balance between average order value and conversion rate. And then all of our planning throughout peak season is centered around these promotions, because it's what's going to really drive that customer, whether it be the first time, like a new customer acquisition, or whether they've purchased before. That it's all about promotion. So making sure that these promotions are at the forefront in all of our marketing and creative.
Yeah, and I like that fact. Sorry. I like that fact. It's the whole organisation coming together, because it's as much an operational piece as it's a marketing piece.
Absolutely, yeah. But then in terms of like the localization, we do really try and localize the messaging and understand the buying habits and trends per market. For example, in previous years, we've actually seen Cyber Monday be much bigger in France. So really trying to understand those consumer behaviors and use them to your advantage, and make sure that you're really pushing the right messaging at the right time.
Nice. You've left a little secret out the bag there, Hannah, for everyone listening. Although I don't know whether that's solely an underwear thing. Maybe we'll ask Gustav later if that's true in lighting as well. Look, thank you for that. Last couple of questions, if I may. The first of which is generally about the marketing mix the approach to the marketing mix you've been using for holiday seasons in terms of your international reach. Which were the ad solutions that you found worked best for you? And Hannah, actually, if I come back to you on this one.
Sure. So a full funnel approach is key to maximizing growth during the holiday season. So we really try and take that into account across all types of marketing. So when analyzing performance on what works best, we pull it back to this funnel. And as an ad solution driving brand awareness at Lounge is just as key to those revenue driving solutions, especially when breaking out into new territories. We really try and center this and bring it back to the brand awareness. So using this kind of way of thinking, we find YouTube is key, and it's a really good way to drive that full funnel activity, but also be able to leverage like that brand awareness side at a really good cost in terms of being able to get new customer acquisition efficiently. It's also a really visual way to put that messaging across, that marketing mix messaging across to our customers. And like utilizing the ad types such as like the video action campaigns and video shopping campaigns are a great tool for peak to really take it from brand awareness all the way through the funnel. And that's what we found really works for us.
Interesting. Yes. And again, that more the visual nature of it, I think, appeals to a lot of the recent research I've seen is this pointing towards a more visual approach generally to search and to consideration, I think, from a consumer point of view. Thank you for that, Hannah. Fascinating stuff. Gustav, what about yourself? What's your marketing mix look like?
Yeah, so I definitely second Hannah in regards to having this full funnel approach and a holistic view to marketing. I would like to highlight Google Shopping as our primarily go-to-market ad strategy. And we are doing that because, one, it's easy and fast to create and set up. And when you're gathering insights or data from the campaign, it's also super easy to scale and, for example, double the budget. And then already the next day you can see if it's working or not. And especially when going into new markets, talking about the low risk, you can really get some insights without paying a huge sum of money. And then lastly, it scales super quickly and is easy to localize to new countries.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Great answers both, and I think very useful for anyone listening in terms of thinking about what options they've got and what's the right one for their campaign. So thank you both very much for that. So look, my final question to leave us, I hope, on a high note is, you've both experienced great success in international growth and long, and I guess, is that a case of long may that continue? Is this going to continue to be part of your plans for growing your business? Is there more to come, Gustav?
Yeah, so for Antlight and from our point of view, it's definitely a part of the strategy going forward. We want to be Europe's biggest and continuing being that player within furniture and lighting. So the market expansion is a key thing for us in our strategy. And I believe the good news for us and all the other marketers listening in today is that it has never been as easy as it is today to go into new markets. There's a ton of tools you can use, like Google Market Finder, and as Hannah also mentioned, Google Analytics that has a ton of audience insights. So it's super easy, and it's a low risk opportunity to test out new markets, which you can do quite fast and easy. So my advice to marketers out there would be to gathering some insights and get the buy-in from the management team to test it, and just getting started right now to be ready for Black Friday and the other peak days. So good luck with that.
And indeed, getting ready for Cyber Monday, particularly in France, Hannah. What about yourself, Hannah? Are you? Is it more of the same as far as you guys are concerned?
Oh, absolutely. I think both Anlight and Lounge have these big goals. Our goal is to be the biggest underwear brand in the world. So the only way to do that is to grow internationally. So
that's a heck of an aim. I love it, Hannah. I love it.
We're on our way. We're going to get there. But yeah, like Chris said, before we broke out into 2 new markets just last week. And the plan is to just continue this growth internationally. It's absolutely key. And yeah, that's the plan for us, and just really making sure that as we expand, we're also testing and learning, and then it gives insights that we can take onto our new markets that we're going to break out into as well. So
fantastic stuff. Well, look, thank you so much, both of you. A huge amount of real good detail and examples and insights throughout there, and lots of themes coming through, like the importance of testing and learning as you go. So look, thank you so much for your time. I wish you both all of the best of luck in your future endeavors in becoming the number one in Europe, or indeed the number one in the world, which, having met you, I can't imagine won't happen, I have to say. So thank you both very much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Which neatly, and before we get on to our final couple of slides, I did promise that we'd bring all three back in for a short Q&A. So let me welcome back Alexis and Hannah and Gustav as well, with a little reminder that anyone listening in live, please do pop your questions into chat. We've got a couple of minutes with these good people here. And actually, if I might start the questions off, just from your point of view, Alexis, I'd be interested in your thoughts from the research and the data you've got. Is there a particular type of product that you is there a particular type of product that you think is going to be particularly successful this Black Friday / Cyber Monday / holiday season?
Well, that's a very good question. In fact, I think it deserves a whole presentation, but I won't speak for another 20 minutes, so don't worry about that. Yeah, no, I think the focus of the session was on how and why, and this question is more about what's next. And Hannah mentioned using Google Trends and Analytics to give you a perspective of what, the past and now what people have been purchasing in those markets. So that's important to also think about the future. So use those tools and think that things are changing. So we had during the lockdowns, we had a peak of furniture sales. People are staying more at home, right? That was good for you, probably, Gustav. Stay more at home. We had also home workout equipment, gardening, board games. And now we see, like, for instance, beauty products coming up as people are more out and about. And might be some even niche things coming up. I'm just making this up, but maybe like a lot of people got new pets, right? So they are not at home all the time. So they might need cameras, I don't know, some gadgets to take care of the pets while they are away.
Nice, yes.
That's a guess, but I think you need to use those tools. You need to understand which marketing you're looking at. And you can also refer to Euromonitor blog if you want to see some future trends in the longer term for industries and product categories.
I love that little cheeky pitch there about
Yeah.
the Euro Monitor blog. Excellent. Well, look, I'm delighted to say I've had a little message from Gustav saying he's got a question. Gustav, I love that this is a Q&A right here. What's your question, Gustav?
No, I actually have a question for Hannah, and which started off, you said you opened in 2 new markets, and if I'm not mistaken, Denmark was one of the markets. I'm sitting here in Denmark, so I'm super delighted. Maybe I'm not the audience myself, but super nice you opened in Denmark. So my question is, what kind of data points you look for when you choose which market to go in? Because Denmark is obviously a quite small country in Europe. So in order to get be the biggest of the world, why do Denmark?
Yeah, sure. So we actually have a European store already. So we already previously shipped to Denmark and Switzerland and these new territories that we've broken out into. So we already were able to collect that data, which was a huge benefit of knowing where to break out into next. We found that Denmark, when it was in the European store, just performed really well. And obviously, being able to have like a local language and local payment methods could just really accelerate how Denmark performs and like those conversion rates and just really get us to be able to communicate in a better way to our Danish consumer. So that's kind of why we chose Denmark as one of our points. Our European territories always work really well for us and perform really well. And also with us having a UK warehouse and soon to be, a European warehouse now as well, it's a brilliant way that it's just a quick win for us because we can have strong shipping and delivery times and things like that. So it's just all of like the European territories and the ones that perform well are just really good quick wins for us.
All right, super interesting. We actually also have a .com store where we breakout markets into. Super interesting.
Very interesting. So there's a thought there. So look, let's. I'm aware. I'm aware that we have that we're coming to the end of time. We do have a couple of questions from the from the viewers, which is from Fruthi MCC. What's your go-to method for integrating multiple currencies and languages in your CMS? And which is your preferred CMS platform? Oh, we're getting detailed and technical now. Yeah, look at Alexis going, okay. Do either of you want to take that, Gustav or Hannah?
I can give some insights at least. So I definitely think that the part with currencies is a super good question. First of all, because in Antlight, we at least have 5 currencies we work with on a daily basis. And what we do is that we, 2 times a day, we actually pick up the live currency and the exchange rate. And then we work it into all our product prices, shipping rates, and different fees. It's definitely some work to do. So because of that, I actually also would just start with doing, if you're a European consumer, then start with European markets that deals in euros. And then when going into, it could be Denmark, for example, we have our own currency, then actually maybe begin selling purely in euros. I don't know if it's that Hannah's already doing when launching into Denmark, but that I would definitely start with just launching with euros.
Hannah, any thoughts on your currency integration piece?
Very similar to what Gustav said, really. When we're localizing a new market, that's when we really break out into like specific channels. So for example, with Google Shopping, we only launched Denmark, the Danish Google Shopping, when we had our own localized store with our localized currency. And then that's when we use like the Danish krona, I believe. Not too sure on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Gustav said beforehand, we were using euros for our European store, which covered all of them, the majority of European countries, regardless of the currency. So that is a good way.
That's that first step. Well, look, brilliant. Thank you so much. And we have one last question. This time it's from Alexis, I think. Yeah. So I don't know, Alexis would like to ask you both a little something. What's your question, Alexis?
Yes, it was probably covered during your answers, but it will be interesting to highlight. we learn more from our difficult situations. So what would you say was the biggest challenge in terms of marketing when you were expanding internationally?
That's a good question, Alexis. There we go.
I'm
Who wants
happy to go.
Thank you, Hannah.
I would say it's just really understanding the market. Like being in the UK, sometimes it's really difficult to understand how like consumers are vary in their buying habits change per like market. So it was like trying to wrap my head around like, oh, like bank transfer is a huge payment method in Germany. Like who knew? I wouldn't have ever thought. So it's just really trying. My like biggest thing to overcome is just to really get out the mindset that every place is like where I live, and just really change how I think.
Wise words, Hannah. Wise words. Thank you, Gustav. What about yourself? Your biggest challenge?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge was during COVID to stay agile all the time and follow, as Hannah also said, the markets. All the markets behave differently. COVID hit differently at different times. So different market peaks on the markets, and also following the news in regards to, for example, Germany changing the taxes. Denmark made huge payouts to the citizens, and see how that affect the channels, which it did a lot. And I think that was definitely our biggest challenge, is to follow all of that.
Indeed, yes, the knock-on effects all of these big decisions make. Well, look, once again, thank you all so much for all of the insight and wisdom you shared with us. Really, really appreciate it, and I'm sure it will help hugely with everyone listening in terms of them putting their final finishing touches to their growth plan to be ready for the holiday peak this year. So, thank you ever so much for your time, all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
yeah, guys. Which just leaves it to me to say thank you so much for joining us today as well. A reminder that whilst this is the end of our content for the Global Acceleration Programme, this is by no means the end of the support you'll get as part of the programme. I think the first question is, and I hope came across from both Alexis and Hannah and Gustav as well, is now is not the time to wait and see. Now is the time to try out, to dive in and get going on this stuff. There is literally no better time to start your international growth plans. There is lots of support available both through the email that's been a part of this program throughout. Remember, there is the LinkedIn group as well. It hasn't been the most active group of that, I'm aware. Nevertheless, it is there. So please do use it wisely as a way of connecting with each other. And of course, keep reaching out to your Google point of contact. With that said, I'd like to say congratulations to everyone. You are now a graduate of the Global Acceleration Programme. Your certificate is on its way as we speak. Please do share it with pride across social media channels, and best of luck in everything you do moving forwards in terms of your international growth. Have a great rest of the day and good luck for the holiday season.